Okay, let's get this going. What's going on, people? You're just about to enter. Let me see. Now, the only thing I gotta do is just wait for the Instagram to pop up. I'm sorry about that, fellas. All right, let's get it going, though. What's going on? Keep it at 10. What's going on? What's going on, bro? So, everyone, you know why we are here. What's going on, OJ? What's up, Oscar? The Houston Texans are hours away from the start of training camp. What's going on in out mobile services? My guy right there. I got notified from Instagram. Yeah, we're going live on Instagram. We're going live on Twitter, TikTok, everything, man. As we are getting ready for Houston Texans training camp, just the excitement is at an all-time high. It's what we've been waiting for. It's real different though, right? At this point last year, the conversations entering camp where can CJ Stroud be a franchise quarterback? Can DeMeco Ryans change the Houston Texans? Remember, guys, the Houston Texans were on a slippery slope. It was just insane that everything fell right into place just as early as year one. What's going on, man? Year two is going to be epic. I absolutely agree. Year two has an opportunity to be epic, right? So let me know your goals, guys, for this season. Let me know in the comments, what are your expectations as we enter training camp? How far do you see this Houston Texans team going? We have an article from my guy, Cody Stutes. If you guys know Cody Stutes, he's been all over the radio. He has been 6'10", 97.5, 790. Shout out to Cody Stutes. Does a fantastic job covering the team. We are going to be reacting to his article today. The top 11 Houston Texans entering this 2024 season, man. I am excited. Like I said, everyone's excited. When you have an off season where you get Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon, Daniil Hunter, man, you have expectations of going to places that you've never been before. So let's go ahead and get into, yes, guys, shout out to OJ. Make sure you are liking today's live stream. That's how y'all help me the most. Michael is from Missouri. I cannot wait for this season to start. I cannot wait either, bro. It's going to be so much fun watching this team get to work. So you see it at the top 11 Houston Texans entering this season. This is who Cody Stutes had entering last year. Laramie Tunsil, number one, right? He was, hey, this dude had to protect CJ Stroud, our rookie quarterback. 2 was Jalen Petrie. Will Anderson Jr. was 3. Dameon Pierce was 4. Remember, we were so excited for year 2 of Dameon Pierce, and a lot of people really expected him to carry the load of this Houston Texan offense. Fortunately, we found out quickly that year 2 of Dameon Pierce was just not it. Dalton Schultz was number 6. CJ Stroud, 7. Stutes did not want to put a lot of pressure on the rookie quarterback, CJ Stroud. 8, Derek Stingley. What's going on, Jay? Shout out to my guy, Jay. Waiting for the birthday celebration. Can't wait for that. Number 9 was right tackle Titus Howard. 10, defensive tackle Malik Collins. And 11, cornerback Steven Nelson, Malik Collins. no longer a part of this team. That's crazy. Out of the 11 people, 9 are still here and 2 are gone. Let's see who's in here from Instagram. Um, Fourth War says, we got action to go to the Super Bowl. They have the team right now. We don't want to let the window close on us. No, absolutely, man. The window is going to be about, honestly, realistically, to me, it's 1 to 2 years. While you have Stephon Diggs, while you have Daniel Hunter, while you have whatever you can squeeze out of Joe Mixon, right? Before you have to pay Derek Stingley, Christian Harris, all these guys that were drafted a couple of years ago, I think the window for this team is 1 to 2 years, broski. Thank you for the comment. So number 11, most important Houston Texans entering this season. Cody Stutes has guard Shaq Mason. Here's what he has to say. Mason had a rocky start last season, but settled into the right guard spot. He ended up as one of the 15 best guards in football among players that played the most according to Pro Football Focus. Let's say he is somewhere around the 20th best guard in football. That's a good place to be. He is also the most steady player on the offensive line. He played nearly every snap last year, and I don't expect that to change this season. He's steady, if not remarkable, and ultimately he turned into a reliable player after some preseason skepticism last year. Look, I was a fan of when we traded for Shaq Mason. I was a fan when we gave him that 3-year extension. Look, Shaq Mason was the only consistent part of your offensive line last year. Was the only one that played a full season, played into the postseason. Shaq Mason did exactly what you asked him to do. This was a Nick Caserio get, was at New England, right? Goes to Tampa Bay, wins the Super Bowl with the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. We bring that veteran presence here to Houston, and I'm excited for year 2 of this offensive line, man. Like I said, there were so many injuries. The starting unit did not play one game together, and then our offensive line coach, right, Chris Strausser, when we had John McClain on, he said this was the first time he's been in this type of offense. So we should expect him to get better also. Frank Z said H-Town till we drown. Absolutely agree. Ponce says, hopefully our run defense is the best we've seen because we go up against some good running backs. Bro, 100% agree. But we got Daniel Hunter. Will Anderson Jr. was great against the run. Danico Autry's pretty good. We're going to be a lot better against the run, man. I promise you. What is going on, Daniel? Barry Sports Highlights. Welcome into the stream. Give me 1 second. So you have Shaq Mason at number 11, but I think he had some honorable mentions. Okay, here we go. Tight end Dalton Schultz and defensive end Danico Autry, right? Danico Autry was kind of the highlight of day 1 of free agency, right? There wasn't a lot of fireworks. We saw Jeff Okudah. We saw Lonnie Johnson. Adding in Danico Autry, right? He is a part of that stat where I said the Houston Texans were the first team in NFL history to bring in a 1,000-yard receiver, a 1,000-yard rusher, and a player with double-digit sacks. Well, it was 2 players that had double-digit sacks that you brought in. One of them, obviously, Daniel Hunter, 16.5 sacks with the Minnesota Vikings. But it was also Danico Autry, defensive tackle / defensive end, who spent the last couple of years with Tennessee, also spent some time with Indianapolis. He had 10-plus sacks last year. So you're adding almost 27 sacks, to this Houston Texans defensive line. It's going to be good, man. I am excited for Danico Autry. What's going on, Mario? Am I expecting a 10-sack season from him? Absolutely not. However, 5, 6, 7, I could definitely see that. Dalton Schultz is another honorable mention here for Cody Stutes. I agree. I like Dalton Schultz. Am a fan of him. 1 year prove it, do it for the Houston Texans, and the Texans, obviously think that Dalton Schultz is a part of the future. They gave him a 3-year extension. Sorry. And I'm excited to see how he grows with CJ Stroud, right? As CJ Stroud gets better, expect the numbers of guys like Dalton Schultz, Tank Down, Nico Collins, to be inflated, man. We just saw the type of season that Nico Collins had. Can't wait to see what Dalton Schultz does in year 2 with CJ Stroud. this D line is going to be a movie. It's going to be crazy, bro. It's going to be insane. I'm so excited. Let's keep on going with the list. So number 10, as we get into the top 10, Cody Stutes has linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair, the 10th best Texan heading into this season. I love what Al-Shaair is about to bring to the table. Before last season, he was mostly a backup or rotational player for the San Francisco 49ers, where he played under DeMeco Ryans. The Texans tried to sign him last offseason, but couldn't get the numbers right. Al-Shaair ended up signing in Tennessee and was one of the best players on the Titans, smashing 163 tackles, which was good for third in the league. He will be the coach on the field and significantly help improve the run defense for the Texans. Al-Shaair will call the plays and help execute the defense DeMeco Ryans envisions for this team. He's not the most notable addition from this offseason, but his impact will be felt. He was also one of those day one guys that we got in free agency, and I am slowly becoming a fan of Azeez Al-Shaair. When you listen to his press conference, it sounds like he's been a Houston Texan for a while now. Multiple times he brought up culture. And when was the last time you heard someone mention the Houston Texans and having a culture in the same sentence? With that being said, this was a guy who, like Cody Stutes said, we tried to get last year, balled out with Tennessee. I think, is now a franchise leader in tackles for them. And I think Al-Shaair is exactly the type of linebacker that we need, a run thumper, a downhill guy. We have our coverage linebacker. That is Christian Harris. But I am absolutely excited to see what Azeez Al-Shaair brings to this team. In one of his press conferences, he was talking about how Christian Harris and guys like Neville Hewitt Hansen were coming up to him, dabbing him up like they knew him, right? But that goes to the film that they watched, right? Al-Shaair was with DeMeco Ryans in San Francisco for many years, behind guys like Greenlaw, behind guys like Fred Warner. We might see some pretty damn good football from Azeez Al-Shaair, ladies and gentlemen. Number 9, running back Joe Mixon. I wanted to put Mixon higher, and if I am correct about him, he will end up much higher than this. He is still an extremely productive player despite his age and the amount of carries he has over his career. Offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick touted how good Mixon is regardless of the scheme and how he can do it all at the running back position. There isn't any depth behind Mixon, so he will need to be excellent. I don't know about the long-term potential for him, but this year should be a fantastic one and a big upgrade over the rushing attack the Texans have seen over the past decade. I have said this multiple times. Talent-wise, Joe Mixon is your best running back since Arian Foster. And that's shout out to Lamar Miller. That's shout out to Carlos Hyde. They're not like Joe Mixon. And Joe Mixon's coming off another 1,000-yard season, is also dynamic in the pass-catching game. He is going to see a lot of opportunities here in the age. And I always bring this up, guys. The Houston Texans only had 3 100 rushing yard performances all year last year. They weren't from Dameon Pierce. They were from Devin Singletary. That's why I continue to say we have yet to see the full potential of this Houston Texan offense, because all last season it was number 7. There is no question there. With the addition of Joe Mixon, with knock on wood, this offensive line being healthy, this offense is going to be dangerous, ladies and gentlemen. Mark my words. Jay says, if Mixon has more in the tank, he should wildly increase our run production. Absolutely agree. Number 8, wide receiver Tank Dell. Dell probably should be a little higher and likely will end up that way, but I can't place him higher than anyone ahead of him right now. He was excellent as a rookie and became a favorite target of CJ Stroud. His season average, if you explorate his games played, would be close to 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. He might be even better this year. Dell mentioned this offseason how much work was put into learn the playbook. Well, he already knows it now. Adding some impressive teammates on offense and a better rushing attack, and Dell might be a near impossible cover in 24. Ladies and gentlemen, I've only owned 2 Houston Texans jerseys in my life. One of them, Andre Johnson, the GOAT, 80, my favorite player of all time. That's understandable. My second one was CJ Stroud. My third jersey might be Tank Dell. I ain't becoming a Tank Dell fan, ladies and gentlemen, because this dude just embodies what Houston is. If you remember, Tank Dell had a season-ending injury that he suffered against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He then had to work his way back, got healthy. Then what happens? Goes back home to Florida, gets shot in the leg, has to go through another form of rehab, but not only physically, mentally. And yet Tank Dell was still there on day one of voluntary organized team activities. This is a year two wide receiver that we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. But he is slowly becoming one of my favorites. And would it shock me if they gave Tank Dell a captain patch? It might shock everyone else. But to me, Tank Dell is doing everything right to show that he is and can be a cornerstone piece of your franchise, man. Just, dude, if he would have been healthy, we would have been talking about an insane rookie season. You would have legit saw for Offensive Rookie of the Year, CJ Stroud, Puka Nacua, Tank Dell. That's how crazy it would have been. Number 7. Jay said, Dell may lose some production if CJ spreads the ball out more, especially if Tank stays healthy. Mechie makes a name for himself, and if we could get some good tight end help outside of Schultz. No, 100% agree, right? I think the ball is going to be spread around Jay. But this is something that I think that the Houston Texans pass catchers themselves know as well. I don't think we're going to see anyone be selfish here, but I also think we have the coaching staff, Jay, to get the ball in these playmakers' hands. Because when you have someone like Tank Dell, when you have someone like Nico Collins, who was one of the best wide receivers against man last year, when you have someone like Stephon Diggs, who was a game changer on the field and with the ball in his hands, you need a coach that could scheme these guys and get these guys open. And if you notice from the few videos that we saw, Jay, right, we saw so much pre-snap motion of Stephon Diggs starting at the left side of the field, coming back to the right, doing a circle around CJ Stroud, doing it again because CJ Stroud wanted it to be done better. That's what I wanted to see from Bobby Slowick. And I think even though there is a lot of mouths to feed, you won't have any guys starving, if that does make sense. Number 7, wide receiver Stephon Diggs. Diggs is here on reputation and the chance that one of the most productive wideouts in football continues to just be that in a Texans uniform. I am excited to see how the team uses him and nervous to see if the efficiency of the numbers can outweigh the totals. Dig averaged over 160 targets in Buffalo over the past 4 seasons. He won't see that in Houston. He will still draw coverage and attention from opposing defenses, though. The ability to line up anywhere on offense and play with the best group of wideouts that he has played ever should present Diggs with an environment that keeps him getting the football and happy. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of mouths to feed, but I think Bobby Slowick can get it done. And here's the thing. What's going on, Don? Shout out to you, man. Really blowing up on TikTok. You can afford to cover Stephon Diggs. You can afford to double Stephon Diggs, to double Nico Collins, to double Tank Dell. You want to try to stop the pass? You want to play a really prevent defense? Joe Mixon's going to dice you up. Then you have our tight ends. And I say tight ends because I like Kate Stover. I like Brevin Jordan. And then you got Dalton Schultz. There's going to be a game, guys, where we just drop 50. There's going to be a game where it just looks too easy for this offense. And, we kind of saw that towards the end of the year against the Tennessee Titans with CJ his second time. We saw that against the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs, where even though statistically they were the best defense in the NFL, some were saying one of the best defenses in NFL history, they didn't even get to CJ Stroud one time. Our guy from Instagram, Dwight Upsoon, says the spread of this offense is going to make the defense stress going against us. Absolutely agree. What tank we would have beat Baltimore? I don't know about that, man. Baltimore was just ready to play. That team is legit. They're going to continue to get legit. A huge fan of Lamar Jackson, but if you will have this team now, I would say run that thing back, man. Run it back. Number 6, cornerback Derek Stingley. Stingley was one of the best cornerbacks in football after he returned from injury. The Denver game was filled with highlights, including one of the best anticipation plays we have seen by a Texans defensive back. Stingley also followed the opposing team's top wideout as well late in the season. He is an integral part of the defense when you think about how excellent he can be and how thin the team is behind him at the position. A healthy Stingley should be a potential all-pro caliber player, and a healthy season will go a long way toward calming the concern about, him. The thing about Derek Stingley has yet to play the full season, but you could say the same thing about Jeff Okudah, about CJ Henderson. I am worried about the I don't want to say safety. I mean, I am worried about the cornerback group because, Lord forbid, knock on wood, Derek Stingley goes down. Who was your backup cornerback? Who is cornerback number 2? Because if you ask me, I will lean to the guy that we just drafted with the 42nd overall pick, Kamari Lassiter. I would rather give him an opportunity than Jeff Okudah or CJ Henderson. Now, maybe the Houston Texans don't believe that, and I don't think they do. I think to start training camp, they give Jeff Okudah and CJ Henderson some opportunities to run with the ones, but Kamari Lassiter has been running with the ones as well. And whether that's in the slot or in the outside opposite of Derek Stingley, I think we're going to see Kamari Lassiter sooner rather than later. But with Derek Stingley, right, the talent's there. It's always been there. It's, can this guy give you a full season? And if he does, we're talking about arguably one of the best cornerbacks in the game, ladies and gentlemen. 5 interceptions. I mean, when he came back, I mean, it was literally an island of just Derek Stingley just locking down on one side of the football field. Please stay healthy, Derek Stingley, man. We have yet to see the full potential of Derek Stingley. Number 5, the man who just got paid, Nico Collins. Collins was spectacular last season. After 2 seasons where he couldn't stay healthy or showcase his potential, he broke out for an electric 1,297 yards and 8 touchdowns. It was not something many expected out of Collins, but his production earned him a new contract this offseason. What impressed me with his season was the amount of different things he did well. He bids man coverage as well as anyone in the NFL. He runs almost all the routes and does so with precision. Collins is physical at the point of attack and physical after he gets the ball in his hands. He should have another great season. Remember what CJ Stroud said about Nico Collins. This is our modern day Andre Johnson. Now, if that is how CJ Stroud views our boy Nico Collins, he's going to have to use him as such. But I think Nico is going to have another strong season. He just got paid. He's still very young. He's going to have an opportunity to get a second big contract in the NFL right before he turns 30 years old. This was one of Nick Caserio's first draft picks, ladies and gentlemen, right? The first draft pick to get a second contract. Does Bradman Jordan get one? I don't know. He's in his contract year. But with Nico Collins, you want him just to continue to step up and be a number 1 for this Houston Texans team. Remember the conversations we were having about Nico Collins at this point of the year last year, right? Right before we got into training camp. Hell, because we're literally right training camps tomorrow. So we were asking, can Nico Collins be a weapon for this Houston Texans team, right? He showed us that he could, right? He had a nice week 2 against the Indianapolis Colts, 130 plus yards. Then he goes against Marcus Lattimore from the New Orleans Saints, has a strong 80 yards against him. Then it switched to, okay, Nico, you could be a 1,000-yard wide receiver. You could be a number 1. Then to me, this is where I kind of got picky. And I said, There's two number one wide receivers in the NFL. There's the guys that can get you 1,000 yards, right? The Kenny Galladays, the Doug Baldwins, the Brandon Cooks. They could get you 1,000 yards. When you see their stats on, on ESPN, you will say that's a number one wide receiver. But then there's the guys who could get you 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, the superstar type of guys, the Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs. And when you look at the type of season that Nico Collins had, because he still didn't play a full year, only 15 games. If he does play those extra two, and then he went out early against the New York Jets, are we talking about a 1,400-yard season, a 1,500-yard season, a double-digit touchdown season? What's going on, Blue Aces? That's the conversation that we could be having if Nico Collins played a full 17 games. Now, the Houston Texans believe in him. And I do too, man. Man, dude, it's all excitement. It's all good here. Shout out to Manny who just joined the live, man. My boy, looking fantastic, dude. I see you hitting the gym. Number 4 is left tackle Laremy Tunsil. Tunsil is still one of the top tackles in football, though plenty of younger players are coming for his spot. He's still worth the money with his ability to pass protect and the peace of mind he delivers. The way the Cleveland Browns and Myles Garrett struggle to attack him and succeed showcase the extreme top level that Tunsil still provides. He has to stay healthy to ride off an all-pro season, though. The knee issues that plagued his 2023 are hopefully behind him. His health is paramount because there isn't depth behind him. I don't want to see Blake Fisher or Charlie Haig playing left tackle, and that's why I understand why Cody Stutes has Laremy Tunsil at number 4. Knock on wood again, but could you imagine, Lord forbid, something happens to LT? Remember the conversations we were having when we found out he was going to miss the first 3 weeks of the season? Not having him against Baltimore, not having him up against Indy. And I forget who we played week 3. Okay, then it was Jacksonville. And we didn't have him week 4 either against the Pittsburgh Steelers. How nervous were we? I think that nervousness will double. I think any injury, honestly, guys, anything that goes wrong this season, I think it's going to be amplified to a 10 because of the expectations that we ourselves have about this Houston Texans team. It's going to be insane. And, now we can talk about it, right? Because we've expected this. What did I say? The year you're supposed to be good is always the best because there's no expectations, right? I said 5 to 7 wins last year. Now we are here talking about going to the Super Bowl. Yeah, man. Wrap Stingley up in bubble. Limit him during training camp. Limit him during practice. This is one of those players. You know how we had DeAndre Hopkins and he did not practice? Shout out to the hat, man. Big City Cavs. I want to see the exact same with Derek Stingley. Give me 1 second, family. Moving on to number 3. Defensive end Will Anderson Jr., the reigning defensive rookie of the year. Anderson was awesome last year. The sack numbers were solid for a rookie, and I expect those to improve this season. Where he impressed the most is in the advanced stats from ESPN. This is for all you analytic guys. His pass rush win rate was third in the NFL among edge players, and his run stop win rate was second while facing some of the most double teams. He's not going to get double teamed no more. Anderson is checking in at 3 only because the team added an all-pro caliber player at his position. Otherwise, he would be second on the list. I don't know if he will have the best season among defenders on the Texans, but don't be surprised to see a jump to a new level of success for the reigning defensive rookie of the year. I mean, if a new level of success is double-digit sacks, if you're a legit game wrecker, then Will Anderson Jr. is doing everything that we've asked him to do. Will Anderson Jr., guys, it's crazy because I remember the moment that we traded up for him. And I was at, the Texans draft party, and The excitement for CJ Stroud was insane. The excitement for the trade up and for the selection of Will Anderson Jr. was louder. It felt like a legit WWE pop. And with Will Anderson Jr., man, the future is at an all-time bright. I expect him to be a leader for this Houston Texans team for many years to come. Yes, I understand exactly why he is number 3 on this list. Number 2, Danielle Hunter. Hunter's addition to the Texans still isn't talked about enough. He is one of the most consistent producers on the edge in the NFL, and he joins a Texans team that should be one of the best he has played on in his career. This bodes well for a player who was 5th in sacks and tied for a lead league in tackles for a loss, improvement on his production. The scary part of the opposing offense is something defense coordinator Matt Burke said about Hunter. The Texans think his pass rush can be better in the system the Texans run. Think about improving on 16.5 sacks while also having Will Anderson Jr. to rush opposite of them. This is going to be the best pass rushing duo in the NFL, ladies and gentlemen, hands down. 16.5 sacks, and you're going to have 10 plus sacks from Will Anderson Jr. Pray to God both of these guys stay healthy. Danielle Hunter is not only going to be a leader on this defense, a leader of the entire team. Remember the story? The Indianapolis Colts offered him more money. He said, no, I'm going to come to the H, my hometown, and try to win a Super Bowl trophy. And then last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, number 1, the most important Houston Texans going into this season, quarterback CJ Stroud. Who else would be here besides the quarterback? Stroud was fantastic as a rookie and is already in the top 10 of the league at the position. He produced one of the best rookie seasons ever from a quarterback and has plenty of room for improvements too. Stroud's efficiency should improve this season if the offensive line plays better and the team runs the ball well. He also has seen how NFL defenses approach him, and Stroud has more input to improve his output at the quarterback spot. It should be an impressive season for the reigning offensive rookie of the year. The weight of the franchise will be on his shoulders. 100% agree. This is CJ Stroud's team. If this season isn't successful, we will be looking at the quarterback. Like I said, guys, last year was fun. We had no expectations. This year, we need to get to our first ever AFC championship. We need to get to as close to the Super Bowl as we've ever gotten. There is a window now, and windows could close very fast. Remember when we had Deshaun Watson in his rookie year? How long ago was that? All the way back in 2017. Nothing is given nowadays, ladies and gentlemen. This Houston Texans, they start training camp tomorrow. I am so excited. I just want to thank everyone who was a part of today's live stream. It means the absolute world. Be looking out on everything: Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok tomorrow as I keep you up to date on everything Houston Texans. Guys, do me all a favor. Have a real blessed rest of your night.